Today, before we go to sleep, we will study Chapter 18 of the book Grow Rich While You Sleep by Ben Sweetland, which was originally published in 1962. This recording is a treasure trove of insights for your personal development. These insights can be effortlessly absorbed by your mind and later reactivated during your slumber. To gain a deeper understanding of this revolutionary method, please refer to the channel's introductory video. Now, find a comfortable seated position. Inhale deeply into your abdomen, and as you exhale, release any tension. Take a moment to breathe in and breathe out. Now pay close attention and listen carefully with total concentration. Grow rich while you sleep. Chapter 18. You become rich right now. I believe one can get rich if he goes about it the right way, a young husband admitted candidly, but it takes so long to make the grade that it requires more ambition than I have to put it over. This statement is not unusual, although not many people will admit their weakness as frankly as this one did. But the fact remains that most people feel that the road to success is a tough one, and they hesitate getting started. Suppose someone gave you a large check of 6 figures or more. You would feel that you had suddenly become rich, wouldn't you? Of course, it would be a few days before you could use the money because a check of that size would have to clear through your bank before you would be allowed to draw against it. So there would be a few days when you would feel rich without actually being so. You would feel rich because you would know that the money would soon be available to you. What the principles in this book have given you is not a check or a specific amount, but a signed blank check, a check which you may fill out for any amount you wish, that is, any amount your beliefs can see. These principles have worked time and time again. They are working, and they will continue to work. This being true, are you not rich right now? Does it matter whether or not you have money? Does it necessarily mean that your bills must be paid before you are rich? No. Because you know that with this blank check you can satisfy any desire you may have for material possessions, as well as clearing off any indebtedness you may have. One of the readers of my book, I Will, became imbued with the spirit of success and was determined to prove that he could be a success. His first problem was his clothing. He knew that to be successful he should appear successful, but the trousers of his one business suit was shiny. The heels on his shoes were worn down. His few shirts had been mended many times, and in places where the patches could be seen. You now know that when you develop a success consciousness, constructive ideas begin to flow. This proved true with this chap. He visited a small clothing store and, after meeting the owner, frankly explained his plight. He said he needed a complete head-to-toe outfit and wanted to know if there was a way he could obtain this wearing apparel and pay for it with service of some kind. The owner asked him if he could erect some shelving that he needed for additional items of haberdashery. The man said that he had done much carpentry work and was sure he could please. It was not long before this fellow could make a good impression and was ready to achieve success. Obtaining a position selling investment securities, he did well that he became sales manager with an income of nearly $2,000 monthly. This man did not become a success after climbing to a higher income position. He was a success the moment he began to see himself as a success. With the start he now has, it is safe to predict he will become a man of power and wealth. Can this be true? In writing this chapter, I paused at this point and asked myself 2 important questions. Is becoming a success as simple as I am making it appear to be? Will it be possible for an average man or woman to read this book and then, by following its suggestions, turn the tide from mediocrity to a life of happiness and opulence? The answer to both of these questions is yes. However, not all people who read self-help books, mine or those of other authors, succeed in reaching the zenith of their aspirations. From my study of people and why they are as they are, I believe I know the reason, and by including it here, I am sure a far greater percentage of people will be helped than otherwise. The unknown is terrifying. Practically all of our fears and worries are based on the unknown. We don't know what will happen to us, so our minds dwell on the many things which might happen. The mind has its greatest powers of concentration in the still of the night when it is not possible to distinguish objects because of the darkness. We can hold thoughts on anything we fear because there are no visual distractions. And so, in the dark, we will build in our minds the thought that our lives are so mixed up, that we have so many problems, it would be of little use to try any method of self-improvement. Nearly everyone feels he is a law unto himself. He is certain his problems are different from those of others and consequently more difficult to solve. The thing to do, if you are sincere in helping yourself, is to bring all of your problems out in the open so that you can view them and get rid of them. Take a pencil and paper and make a list of everything you can think of which has been disturbing you. After you complete the list, rearrange the items in the order of their importance, heading your list with that which disturbs you most. Study this list, but do not worry about it. In fact, be happy because through your new mental attitude, you are about to eliminate all of the items on the list. If you attempt to apply the success principles you have been learning, with your mind fogged with an unknown number of problems, you do not gain a clear perspective of what you desire to accomplish. As you try to hold a mental image of yourself as being rich, conflicting thoughts from the vague quarters of your mind will intrude, neutralizing the effect of your constructive thoughts. It is like trying to write while someone continually talks to you. You cannot keep your mind on the subject matter, but when after making the suggested list, you have a clear picture of the problems you intend to master, you will be able to focus attention on developing a success consciousness because you will know what you intend to accomplish as a result of it. You are rich now. If you have gained a richness consciousness, you are rich right now. Taking the steps necessary to put money in your bank and acquire the possessions you want is merely a formality. But do not try to accumulate material wealth too rapidly. Remember, success is not a destination, it is a journey. In my book, Will, I tell of the tycoon who said, "My greatest thrill in life was not when I had money, but when I was making money." On one occasion, my wife and I spent a few days in a New York hotel which is used as a residence by many wealthy retired people. To study the faces of those in the dining room revealed much regarding human nature. The expressions were not a bit animated. These people had made their fortunes and had no need to make more. They could afford anything they wanted, which meant they didn't want anything. One day we had lunch in a popular commercial hotel where men gather to discuss business while they eat. What a difference! Their faces were alive and the sparkle in their eyes indicated that life was an ever-changing panorama of interesting events to them. Jetting across the continent, I had as a seat companion a man whose business it was to cure sick businesses. He told me that he would take a business that was on the verge of failure and through the application of sound principles would put it back on its feet. He was usually successful with the result that many sick businesses have survived because of him. "It's a funny thing how I got into this business," he said with a reminiscent smile. "I had been an accountant, and one time when my work was a bit slack, I took some time to help a friend of mine save his business, which was rapidly heading for the rocks. I saved his business and got so much satisfaction in doing so, I decided to become a sick business doctor, which has kept me happily occupied ever since." "What do you do for the business head that he could not do for himself?" I asked with marked interest. When a man allows his business to head toward failure, his mind is so filled with thoughts of possible consequences, it is hard for him to think in terms of remedial measures with the result that the business is slowly permitted to sink. I, in an impersonal way, can concentrate on things to be done to put the business back on an even keel. The conversation I had with this doctor ties in very closely with what I said earlier in this chapter to the effect that the negatives we have in mind often overshadow the constructive thoughts we are aiming to establish. One man told me that the reason he could not see himself as being rich was that he could not kid himself. He knew what his circumstances were, and to think of himself as being rich was something he could not do. He also said that to go around among his friends, who knew his circumstances, and pretend to be rich would make him feel like a downright faker. This man is right, and I too, under similar conditions, would feel the same. I do not mean that one should pretend he is rich. One is either rich or he is not rich. If you have a rich consciousness, you are rich no matter how many or how few worldly goods you may have, because it is within the realm of possibility for you to manifest riches. Now that you are gaining a success consciousness, do not go around talking about it or even pretending. As you build your estate, your friends and relatives will observe your progress. They will know that you are rich, spiritual riches. Bringing up the subject of spiritual riches near the end of this chapter may seem like putting the cart before the horse. Because of all riches, spiritual riches are of greatest importance. In Matthew 16:26 we read, "For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Practically all of this book up to this point has dealt with material wealth, a better home, larger income, financial security, etc. But gain as you will not be assured happiness unless you gain spiritual riches. The key to spiritual riches is contained in a four-letter word: love. Whenever I use this word here, I mean love in every respect. Have love for those near and dear to you. Do not conceal it in your heart, but give expression to it. Remember, love is one commodity of which it is true that the more you give of it, the more you get in return. Do not be afraid to declare your love frequently to those closest to you. In my many years of marriage to Adel, my little girl, my sweetheart, my wife, I do not believe there has been a night when she has not told me she loves me. Naturally, in return, I give her assurance of my deep affection for her. Have love for the work you are doing. The more love you put into your job, the better will be your work. The time will pass more quickly and pleasantly. Your compensation will be greater. Have love for all of those with whom you come in contact: the man in your market, the bus driver, the elevator operator, the boy who shines your shoes. In fact, love all of humanity. I can't love bad people, some will say. I believe there is more good than bad in the worst people. You can love the good in them. Many so-called bad people show their bad side because they feel everyone thinks of them as bad. They might as well have the game as well as the name, they think. Show genuine interest in the bad fellow and he will try to prove that he is not so bad after all, which shows the influence love can have on others. Have love for all nature. Love the birds, the animals, the trees and flowers. You can even love the rains because they mean nourishment for all vegetation. This may seem hard to believe, but one should even love his adversities because, if viewed in the right light, they mean experience and knowledge, both of which can prove of great value in the future. Begin developing a good disposition. Remember, anyone can blow his top when something goes wrong. It is the big man who can control himself under adverse conditions. And the one who can control his disposition is the one who gains more friends. And, returning to the subject of material success for a moment, the man with a good disposition is usually more successful than the sourpuss because people like to deal with him. It is a fact that a man is far happier when he has a good disposition than otherwise. The title of this chapter is You Become Rich Right Now. This is true with you, if you will permit it to be true. Right now, begin thinking of yourself as being rich, both in mind and in your affairs. Do not wish this to be true, but know it to be true. Tonight, when you retire, fill your mind with thoughts of being rich in mind and in your affairs. If you wish, you can go to sleep with a thought such as, I give thanks that I am rich in mind and in my affairs. As I sleep, my creative mind will work out ways and means of guiding me in thought and action, so that, when awake, I will think the thoughts and do the things which will enable me to manifest mental and material riches. You may consider this chapter as the most important one in the book. Do not neglect it by reading it hastily. If you reread it before starting on the next one, you will gain even greater good. End of chapter 18. Take a moment to breathe in and breathe out. Stay focused and reflect on what you've just heard. In the comments section, share the main message or key takeaway you've gleaned from this recording. This simple task will aid in your reflection and internalization of the information. Remember, repetition is the key. By playing this recording every night before sleep, you're instructing your sleeping mind on what to consolidate. Once you've completed this, head to bed immediately and let your subconscious mind work its magic. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Good night.